Whoa.
What fucking timing.
Did y'all hear that? We go live and you hear Bam's bird dog.
It's screaming. Goddamn dog.
Good evening, everyone.
Howdy, howdy. So what's going on?
We are, Bam and I, just going to shoot the breeze for a few minutes here while the candidates, the candidate and our guests, I should say, file in. How's it going today, Bam?
Well, let me tell you. I have a bitch and a gripe and I don't know whatever you want to call it. But this is kind of like a thing that I'm kind of like over. Okay. So
oh boy.
Yeah. Our local church. Well, it's not local. It's one of the local churches, the biggest one here in town. It's called First City or City First, or I can't remember the name of it. But it still is a Pentecostal church, and it used to be in the Assembly of God churches, but I guess it got bought out. Anyways, I don't know. Anyways, today they had a food drive.
Yeah.
They were to start giving away food at 10 o'clock. And I'm like, okay, well, it's been a while since I've gone to a food pantry to get something. So it's like, well, I'll go check it out. So I was going to stop at McDonald's, and I know it's not food, but I do happen to like their sausage egg McMuffins. And then I was going to zip on into Starbucks and get like a coffee. And I drove by the church, and I happened to look. I'm like, Jesus Christ, motherfuckers are lined up already, and it's like quarter to, it's like almost 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right. So I whip in there and I get in line. And as I'm going, and then after people pass, or after I get in line, it starts filling up behind me. And then once it's full, they start lining up a third row. And I started counting the cars as they went by me.
Nice, Snoopy.
And then
I bet you roll.
So each line is roughly about 45 to 50 vehicles per line, depending on the size of the vehicle. So by the time they actually started getting people over into the food distribution area, there was 9 lines of cars with, roughly about 50 cars per line. That's a lot of vehicles.
Hi, Hungry Hippo. Paula Master, welcome.
So one of the vehicles I noticed that passed me happened to be a Chevy Tahoe. Okay, well, it's a vehicle that I want to purchase, and I've been pricing them. Yep. And I'm not going to purchase it just because of the price. I mean, they start at roughly $65,000 and go up from there. So here you're driving, pretty much like almost a house, $65,000 vehicle. And you're in line to get free food. And, wouldn't you know it, there's a Cadillac Escalade. And we all know those things start at about 70 and go all the way up to like 150.
That's right.
Like, okay, I get why you guys are in line, because you got a $3,000 a month car payment. I get it. I'd be in line too, but although I think I'd take a different vehicle. So they come by and they ask you, how many families? I'm like, what do you mean, people? No, she goes, how many families are you picking up for? I'm like, just one. So I happen to look at the window behind me, and it says T, but they want it in the trunk, 5. Picking up for 5 families. I'm like, okay, whatever. I get, okay. So anyways, I get up to the line. They put 4 boxes in my trunk. I'm like, holy bejeebers, they really loading me up.
Yeah.
I get home, and I drag 1 box in. The kid goes out and gets the other 3 boxes. Every single box is the same. So a gallon of milk, 5 pounds of potatoes, 5 really big onions, couple of things of Italian meatballs, a couple of things of Greek yogurt, nasty chicken and something hot dogs, which I don't eat. I only eat beef hot dogs, cheese, and a couple other items. And then I got to thinking, I'm like, what the hell is that person doing with 20 gallons of fucking milk?
20 gallons of milk.
Yeah, well, 4 boxes per family. There's a gallon of milk in each one. She picked up for 5 families, 20 gallons of fucking milk. And I'm like, okay, if you really did pick up for 5 families, good for you. But if you're trying to be a food hoarder and just get it because it's free,
which a lot of people do,
exactly,
unfortunately. What's up,
exactly.
Abel?
20 gallons of fucking milk. I mean, I had 4 boxes. I had to beg my neighbors to take a box.
Hi, Melissa.
We don't drink. Well, he doesn't drink 2% milk. I only drink lactate milk. And I'm like, here, take it. I had to beg my neighbor because I didn't want to throw it away. I mean, I would have been good with 1 box. I did not need 4 boxes of the same goddamn thing.
Yeah.
And when I picked up the 1 box, I'm like, oh, this must be canned foods because it's heavy as all hell. No, it was the potatoes and the milk and the onions were like this goddamn big.
Huge, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, my bitch and my gripe is, if you need the food, great. But did you really know that you were going to get 20 gallons of fucking milk?
Well, it's not just that. It's if you don't need the milk. I've seen these food lines, and BMWs, Mercedes, and it's like,
exactly.
Do you need that? Really?
Yeah. Well, and that's why they're so rich, because they don't spend their damn money. Rich people are rich because they refuse to spend their money.
Oh boy, I know what you're saying. I've seen that before. Yeah, I don't get it. I hope they would be picking up for someone else.
Oh, I would too,
or something, But I'm hoping if you can make a BMW or Mercedes car payment, then you don't need to pick up some free food.
And I really wish they would have told me that they were giving me 4 boxes of the same, because I just would have said, well, 1 box is plenty. I don't need 4 of the same damn box, especially if it's milk. We're not big milk drinkers over here. Granted, I cook with it, mashed potatoes, El Gratin potatoes, things like that.
Yeah.
But, it's a gallon of 2% milk that has 5 days left on it. I guarantee you I'm going to be dumping it out before we even crack the seal on it. And that's another reason why I drink lactate milk, because you go and buy a gallon of lactate milk, it's like almost $6 a gallon. Seriously. But it lasts. I mean, its expiration date is 3 months later, because it's the lactose acid in milk that goes bad. So
Abel saw a badass Mercedes today. They bought it all at Stripes with EBT.
So if you can do without lactose acid in your milk, I mean, your milk will last you 3 goddamn months if you don't drink it. I mean, most people drink a gallon in 2 days. I can't do that because milk is not designed for human consumption.
Nadia, he's just streaming. He's going to stream the show himself over there also. So that's all. No biggie. No biggie. Well, at this point, we're just waiting for Mr. De Los Santos and for Erasmo to pop in. And we've got one. Bam. I'm going to say, see you in a couple hours.
Oh, if you're lucky.
3.5. We're still doing a show tonight at 10:30, y'all. So we'll see you then.
Yeah, unless I happen to fall into Nappy Town mode.
Bam, we'll be back. And Bam, we'll talk to you in a little while.
Yeah, unless I fall into Nappy Town mode.
Yeah, I'll call you.
Okay.
Go take your nappy right now.
Well, I'm not ready for nappy.
All right, here we go. Now we're ready to go.
All right, later, guys.
Okay, buddy.
I'm not ready for nappy.
Good evening, gentlemen.
Now we're ready to go.
Hey, Manny.
All right,
and I do mean Erasmo and Roy, not me and Bam.
I appreciate
How you guys doing tonight?
Good. How are you?
Not bad, not bad. Everyone, thank you. Welcome to the show. I'm not going to call it an event. It's not like it's not a brawl or a fight or anything like that. And Erasmo Castro, Roy De Los Santos, thanks for making the time. And hopefully we can get some things cleared up, answered, addressed, however you want to say it. Roy wanted to start off making a little thing. You ready, Roy, or do you need some time?
Hang on 1 second. I'm going to grab my little notebook.
Gotcha.
Notebook. Maybe I should have gotten a notebook.
At least have one, right? I got a notebook, right?
Well, let me flip through my pages.
There you go.
All
Those
set.
are notes. Hey, as long as they're notes, right?
I know it's a napkin that I'm going to use for my notebook.
All right. Roy, you wanted to open up with a little something?
So, yeah, I just wanted to thank Erasmo for agreeing to come on your show, Manny. I'm a big fan. I think this is my 5th appearance on your show. It's always been a great format. but just really wanted to try and open up, setting the tone for the night on what my expectation was when I suggested this. And this came about because on the last show, some folks asked, now that Erasmo is not in the runoff election, if I'd be willing to go on his show. And I expressed my feelings about that. But I'm always willing to sit and talk with Erasmo. And especially because folks have expressed, and I'm in agreement to a great extent, that when you've got people who want better for our city, you can get a lot more done working together than fighting one another. So I think, if both of us have good intentions for the city of Brownsville, I think if we can find some common ground and start to work together, I think that's going to be a great thing. We've got very different styles. I'm more facts and figures based. Erasmo's already got an established following. He's got his base of followers and fans, and that's a fantastic thing. And to me, I just think when we've got the trust of the public, whether it's as part of a show like this, and that includes you, Manny, that, we have an obligation to be honest and factual with our listeners. So I'm looking forward tonight to being able to have a good conversation with Erasmo. And hopefully by the end of this evening, we can start working together on things for Brownsville. And I'm going to turn off the lights behind me real quick so I don't have that bad lighting.
Gotcha. Go ahead. Erasmo, you need a couple of minutes for anything? You want to say anything here also? Or
No.
not? You don't have to.
I mean, no, I appreciate being invited. And again, one of the things that I've stated regularly is I do never shy away from an invitation. I don't do the party crasher thing too much, but when invited, when invoked, Satan will appear. or Jerry Springer, either one, whichever one you want to call.
Jerry Springer or Phil Donahue, right? Who knows? You never know.
I like Phil.
Okay, let me figure out which way to do this better here. All right, well, we can start off with whoever, if there's a concern or something or topic that you guys wanted to throw out there. Erasmo, you might have a list of things you want to go over or not. I'll leave that up to you, to whatever you want to address.
I don't have a list of stuff. Let me make this very, very clear. Guys, one of the things, Mr. Dos Santos, again, congratulations on being in the runoff.
Thank you.
One of the things that I truly believe in is I truly believe in the electoral process. And, voters have spoken. One of the things that I did share right after the primary was done, if we want to call it that, was that, guys, more power to y'all. Hopefully both individuals in District 3 race have the opportunity to go out there and express their desires for the district and for the city of Brownsville as a whole. So I made that very, very clear because I didn't want, and it wasn't because, I desperately want individuals to come on my show. It's not that type of show. I mean, one of the things that I have shared and made very, very public is, Mr. Dos Santos, my platform is your platform. And my platform is Jessica Puente Bradshaw's platform. It's anyone's platform that wants to come on and express what their ideas are, what their goals are, and things of the sort. One of the first things that I did make mention after it was decided that we were not going to be in a runoff was that, guys, I am not going to be out there rooting or promoting one candidate over another candidate. And Mr. Santos, you and I every single time that we met, I want to believe that I've been very respectful to you.
You have, yes.
100%.
You've always said hello, been very cordial in public to each other.
Very, very, very cordial. And again, now, do we disagree on some things? 100%. And, we could share some of those disagreements today and the direction of where the city of Brownsville is going. We could share those today. But one of the things that I specifically highlighted, especially after, is that, guys, I was not going to be a part of, well, this is the candidate that I want out there. And I'll give you an example. When I ran for mayor of the city of Brownsville, it was one of the first things that I did. I did have Tony Martinez and Pat Ahumada, both camps, wine and dine me and say, hey, we want your support in this race. And back then, I told them exactly as to what I made mention after this little primary. Guys, I'm going to let the voters decide. I'm going to let the voters decide. Now, if anyone, but one of the things that I do have is I have my opinions on some matters, and that's, I think, where we are going to possibly not be in agreement. It doesn't mean that, oh well, I hate Mr. De Los Santos or I hate Jessica Puente Bradshaw. It doesn't mean that at all. I mean, every single time I've met up with Commissioner Ben Neese, I've been very, very cordial, shook his hand, gave him a hug even, which a lot of people from Jessica Puente Bradshaw's group were like, oh, why are you hugging him? I go, like, because guys, you don't understand. You don't understand what running a race is all about. And for me, it's not personal. It's more like business, And I'll sit down and have a cup of coffee with Commissioner Benny's, despite the fact that during the race that we had, despite the fact that he came after me, and in a little bit of an offensive way. Yeah, more power to him. I mean, that's up to him. But even so, I don't hold it against him. I'm not going to be out there like, oh, he's going to be the worst. And again, Pedro Cardenas is a friend of mine. But again, guys, it's their race. It's y'all's race to run whichever best way y'all think is beneficial to your campaign. And again, I opened up my platform and said, guys, you're welcome to it, because I do have the largest social media presence platform here in the city of Brownsville. People may not like the fact, but it's a given fact. But with that said, guys, if you don't want to show up, that's fine with me too. I have in no way as to express support for one candidate over another candidate. And trust me, Mr. De Los Santos, I don't plan to, because you have to throw your platform out there to convince me, because I do live in District 3. Mm-hmm. My family lives in District 3. That's your job. Now, in regards to some of the things, I mean, if you want to go over them, some of the things that I am in disagreement with you, I can, but because if this is the reason for this, I will surely share them.
I definitely want to do that. Let me say before we jump into that, Erasmo, first, please call me Roy. We don't need to be formal. I mean, we've seen each other in public enough. I think we're both well known enough in public. Yeah, let's all be friends.
You got it.
And the other thing I want to say was I'm very thankful that you've continued to be active, because I know at one point you had said, if I lose this election, I'm taking a 1 month sabbatical. You're not going to see me again. And I would hate for this runoff to be happening. And because you've got the base you do, your followers not have anywhere to go to get their information for this period of time. So I'm very glad you're not on sabbatical for the month. I'm glad you're out there every day still doing your show. Thank you for that.
I appreciate. Well, I did go to Mexico City for
right, except for Mexico City, but that's
okay. He broadcast from there. I saw him. He was broadcasting from Mexico.
I did go to Mexico City, and I did go to the volcanoes. I am going to Cabo San Lucas this next week, and I will be in Guadalajara the next week. So that's what I meant in regards to taking sabbaticals. One of the things that you know this, when you're out there campaigning, you do your best not to go out there and not to leave the city too much, because you got work to do. Yeah. So I was pushing forward a lot of my little excursions, a lot of my trips till after the race. And that's where my sabbatical comes in. But one of the things that I've promised my community, guys, I'm not going anywhere. I'm not going anywhere. One of the things that I think is very important is, and we've been talking about it recently, is the clear the understanding of what government really truly is. And I think that's something that's very foreign to a lot of the people here. And we could go into some of my concerns. And I'll start off with, if it's okay, I'll start off with my number one. Something that I ran on. One of my first priorities. Every time we went to a forum, Roy, you were at most of them. Yeah, you were at all of them that I was at. And
just the one at the Veterans Park, I missed that one because I had a meet and greet that night.
That's right. Well, that's where I got mistreated by Commissioner Gao and Commissioner, but it's okay. I forgive him. But let me say, one of the things that I ran on and I find concerning is the way that the boards and the committees are set up throughout the city of Brownsville. And I'll share one of the comments that I've made on my page. on my lives in regards to your service on them. Congratulations on being, I think, is it 5 different committees, 5 different boards?
6 different boards. 4 of those are in the community. 2 of them are city boards.
Perfect. And let me say, that is one thing that I'm against. I've been very open about it. I don't think that one individual should be serving on multiple boards and committees. And that's just my belief, my ideal. I think the structure, the way that the boards and committees are set up, they don't really necessarily service the entire city as a whole. And I'll give you an example. When we were seeing some presentations in regards to filling up GBEC at one point back, I would say maybe 3-4 years ago, we found that there was no representation from individuals in District 1. And there were no. I think there was one representative. No representatives from District 2. Most of them were from District 3 and from District 4. My concern with that is that no one from District 1 was seated on the board. Oh, I'm sorry, it was PUB on PUB from that area in order to share their experiences on their at their part of the town. And the way that I saw the committees in policy procedure, the way that they had been set up originally, was that each different district was going to have at least one representative on these committees, on these boards. That's what I wanted to do. I still want all these committees, all these different boards cleaned up and actually have representation from every area of town. With that said, I mean, are there not individuals in a town of 190,000 individuals in the city of Brownsville? I mean, is there no one else that could have filled in those spots that you hold, being that you have six seats? Is there anyone else that could have served on those? And that's my concern. That a lot of times, a lot of certain individuals get picked on. I mean, I'll share another one. We have a lot of individuals that are sitting at the PUB board right now that we're housing and development, and we're in this other board. Well, when is anybody else going to get a chance or an opportunity? Because I've seen the lists of individuals who have applied, who have requested to be on these boards. They've never been given an opportunity or a chance. When is their chance to be on a board?
Now, and let me say, I agree with you as far as I believe every sector of the city should be represented. That's something I've always been a big proponent of. And I always take staff to task, and they're much better about it now than they used to be. But for several years, I'd see reports come out showing where members like myself, which district we lived in, and the information was wrong. So the city commission couldn't even make an educated decision about which district needed representation on a board. It's gotten much better. My compliments to the staff for that. But we still have an obligation to make sure we keep them on their toes and that their information is accurate. And I know I was talking today with several members of the LGBTQ task force, because I've committed that if I'm elected, I will step down from the boards at Camille Playhouse, from the LGBTQ task force, and from the Board of Adjustment. And on the task force, I am the only representative currently from District 3. I know the at-large commissioners and the mayor appointed folks from other districts. So if I step down, that will leave a void for District 3, and we'll need someone from the district. And I know, Mr. Castro, that you had applied to serve on the task force back when it got started last year. So there may be an opportunity for you again in the future. But yes, I agree. And as far as are there others who could serve? Yes. But some of these boards are specialized. And that's what's important. And let me qualify that. There's a lot of boards in the city that are advisory. Absolutely any citizen can serve on. The Board of Adjustment is something that is very specialized. It's a quasi-judicial board, and it has to do with interpreting state statute and applying the law to the rights of citizens. When I first joined this board, and let me tell you the reason I joined this board, the reason I went after this board in particular was my father-in-law at the time. He's now my ex-father-in-law. He does drafting work for architects. And he had been to the Board of Adjustment for a variance for a downtown business that was building an outdoor patio, and it was on Elizabeth Street, so that way they'd have some place to sit for the parade route for Charo Days. Because there's not a lot of space downtown, this new square footage would have put them in violation of their parking ordinance, of the number of parking spaces they need to have available for their square footage of customers. And so they needed a variance. The Board of Adjustment granted the variance. My ex-father-in-law and the business owners went back to the business to start working on the timeline for construction. While they were doing that, a member of the Board of Adjustment shows up at the business and says, "Hey, we just granted your variance. Aren't you going to buy me dinner, buy me a drink, something?" That's what made me go after this board in the first place. When I got on the board, I realized how bad it was. The vast majority of the board members and alternates were absolutely unqualified. And part of that is the fault of staff. Staff was giving them bad advice. That goes all the way up to the director of that department at the time. That goes all the way to the city attorney's office, the attorney who was assigned to that board at the time. They were giving every board member bad advice. And that's a violation of due process, because this isn't an advisory board. This is a board that applies the law. The city manager can't override the decisions. The city commission can't override the decisions. Only a court of law can overturn decisions from this board. So when it's a specialized position like this, or when it's a position that's governing over millions of dollars of taxpayer monies, I think it's very important that we just not say, is there anyone else who can do it? We need to make sure we've got the most qualified people, because we've seen too many instances, and I think you'll agree with me on this. We've seen too many instances where people are there for their own self-interest and not for the well-being of the public. And so that's why we've got to make sure we've got the most qualified individuals that don't have any conflicts of interest out there, no personal agendas and no personal interests when they're going after those boards. So yeah, I agree with you. Better representation, better vetting process. And I would encourage any citizen who's interested in serving on a board, every time I apply, and it's not often, but when I apply for a board, I email every member of the city commission individually, most especially my commissioner for my district and the at-large commissioners and the mayor, since they cover the city as a whole. I would encourage citizens to do that as well. And even if it's just every now and then, reach out to your commissioner when you've got issues in your area of town. That way they start to see your name and realize you're a citizen who's engaged and paying attention. And then when they see it come up on the list of applications, they'll say, I know this guy, he pays attention, he's active in the community. And I think that will help improve your odds of getting an appointment to boards if you're out there as a citizen interested in that.
Well, I mean, again, I just don't see why an individual would want to serve on so many boards and committees. And again, even on these specialized ones where there's maybe legal matters to deal with. And I agree, we need to have the most qualified individuals on there. We do have a lot of students that are graduating that are interested in going into law school. We have a lot of attorneys out there that I know that are regularly applying for different boards. I mean, maybe it's a good opportunity to give them. Again, my concerns is we've seen the same people over and over and over again. And I think it comes a lot because there's just a great amount of apathy in regards to individuals wanting to be a part of the process, because it goes back to they feel that their voice isn't being heard by individuals. And that's not your fault. I mean, you're just a board member right now, or a committee member. I think it goes a little bit further than that. And again, it's just I really, really wish that individuals would be focused on revamping these boards and these committees to where it provides a greater opportunity for a lot of our students, a lot of our young folk, is that to be a part of the process and to be a part of the community in some way, shape, or form. Again, that's just my hope and my desire, because one of the things that I've heard from a lot of folks is that we don't even know what the hell is going on. And I agree. Contact your commissioners regularly. Contact your mayor. I think that, again, that's not your fault either. I think part of the problem is that a lot of folks reach out to these individuals and feel that they are not being heard in any way, shape, or form.
And I think a good solution to that, and I'm going to call on both of you for this, because both of you guys have audiences. And God willing, if I'm serving as commissioner for District 3, I think the three of us should work together and hold some sessions like this, whether we do some in person or all online, but so that citizens specifically who are interested in boards, we can have mini seminars about these are the different boards. These are the ones that have positions coming up. These are what these boards do. And if you'd like more information, I know, like for the Board of Adjustment, when I joined that one, there was no orientation. There was no training. There was nothing. I wrote an entire training deck and submitted it to the American Planning Association for approval and got approved. And now they've got a much more formal process. They're hiring outside attorneys who are specialized in this area to do the trainings because we need to make sure these people are trained right. But I think starting right here, and if there's anybody else in the community who wants to work with us on, let's reach out to those pockets, especially like you say, District 1 is very typical to see no applications come in from District 1 in some positions. And my compliments to Commissioner Golonsky, because I know she's working hard to change that. We can target those districts where we feel they're being underrepresented, and we can go out and find community leaders, or like Mr. Castro, like Erasmo says, you know, students who are up and coming in those areas. And we can be some of the mentors that help groom them and train them and get them on these city boards.
So I'm going to jump in and ask again, because Erasmo did ask, and other fans or viewers or residents of Brownsville have asked. So many, you know, why did you feel it necessary to serve on so many boards?
That's a great question. And honestly, I did not feel it necessary. City of Brownsville, the first time I ever submitted an application was mid to late 2015. So it's only been within the last 5 years I've been doing anything as far as the city board goes. The longest service is Sombrero Festival. And I came into Sombrero Festival just as a favor to a friend of mine who was president that year, and that's Mr. David Musso, because David's originally from Louisiana, does not speak Spanish, is not fluent, and we were real involved together in other nonprofit organizations locally. And he said, would you do me a favor, and would you just hang out and be like my assistant and handle any Spanish questions, Spanish interviews, whether it's newspaper, TV, radio? I'm like, sure. And as I hung out with the organization and started to look around at the operation, I would ask questions, got to know how it worked. And I felt one of the areas that we're very weak in was marketing. And that's my background. That's my specialty. I said, I've got an idea. I want to pitch it to your board. I pitched it to them. And we went from, back in those days, they were bringing in about $30,000 a year in corporate sponsor money. 2020, the corporate sponsor commitments were $270,000. That's just sponsor money. And that's part of what allows us to keep gate prices affordable, beer prices low, things of that nature. So that's why I've stuck with Sombrero Festival, but we've also grown it. We've got 80 officers there, 30 board members, and about 500 volunteers that make it happen. So it's not that demanding on my time. Same thing with the Mitty Foundation. That's one of the boards I'll stay on. The Mitty Foundation is based in Austin, Texas. And the Mitty family, after having worked with me locally, because I was a representative to the Mitty Cultural District for Sombrero Festival, they recruited me to join their family foundation board because they wanted representation from Brownsville, because all of the other board members are from different parts of the country, except now the Mitty family has relocated and they live here locally now. Texas Southmost College Foundation, that's another one. We've got full staff. They handle the day-to-day operations. As a board member, I come in and help with some fundraising, help with events coming up, help spread the word. But I'm not doing day-to-day stuff with the Texas Southmost College Foundation, so it's not a big demand on my time. Camille Playhouse absolutely needs a full-time board president, and that's why I've committed to that board to step aside if I'm elected commissioner, because I would not be able to do the position justice. And the LGBTQ task force and the Board of Adjustment, because I don't believe city commissioners should be sitting on city boards. I believe the commissioners should be the check and balance against those boards to make sure those board members appointed are doing their job. And if they're not doing their job, removing them and replacing them with someone who will. So, I mean, that's why I've done these boards, because I've been recruited for most of them, or I felt I had something to offer that they were lacking. That's why I did it. And whenever it gets to the point, like with Sombrero, I'm not chairman of the board. Olga Gonzalez is our board chair, and she's fantastic. Camille, I'm about to step aside there. I've never been president of the board at TSC, at the Mitty Foundation. I don't ever anticipate that being the case. I was chairman for a brief term on the Board of Adjustment, and then stepped aside when we had someone who was very qualified, and the board's been operating well above board. And with the LGBTQ task force, I've never sought a position as chair or vice chair or anything like that. Just a regular member.
And it has been said that you were founder of the LGBTQ task force. Any truth to that?
No, and that's an understandable misconception. Because I'm as vocal as I am and outspoken and invisible in the community, I think that's where a lot of people immediately lean to. But if you go back and look at the records, this board was created by the city or authorized by the city back in December of 2019. And you look at the minutes, and Manny, I sent those to you from that meeting of the city commission. It lists in the individuals who got up and spoke to lobby the city commission to create that task force. I'm not among them. I was not at that meeting. Then in March, the first round of appointments happened, and 6 of the 7 positions were filled. But I also sent you the packet from that meeting that shows you the list of everyone who had applied. Roy de los Santos is nowhere on that list. It wasn't until March of 2020, when 6 of the 7 members had already been appointed, that I first noticed this is what was going on. And so I said, you know what? District 3 is the one position that's still vacant. I reached out to Commissioner Munguia, and I was very frank. I said, I'm on enough boards already. I'm not saying I want this, I need this, please give it to me. I'm just saying, if you've got someone more qualified, by all means, appoint them. We just want to make sure District 3 is well represented. If you don't have somebody who's you feel is more qualified, then I'm willing and available. That's all it was. Yeah, I don't feel the need to have a long list of boards on my resume. I'm proud of the ones I serve on because I'm very selective. I've turned down a lot of boards over the years because I don't have the time. And I don't think you should take a position if you can't do it justice. And I've lived by that motto all my life.
Well, again, I'll continue to share my concern. I hope that in the future, the city commission, I mean, whoever is on there, works to clean up these boards and committees, and to be a little bit more on the inclusive part in regards to bringing in more individuals, especially a lot of our most talented individuals. And also as the, maybe limit the amount of boards that individuals can serve, to give other individuals who may be interested in opportunity. And I've got like 30 minutes, and I'll go through some of, I think, the concerns that were shared to me in regards to something that y'all had mentioned on y'all's show, and I'll address some of them. And again, we can disagree, and I don't mind.
It's not personal, absolutely.
I don't hate an individual because I disagree with them.
Right.
The things that I've made very, very clear on my platform, on my show, and on my page. I'm a huge supporter of the LGBT community here locally. Huge. For some reason, I know that there's some individuals that Erasmo's homophobic. That is 100% not factual at all, in any way, shape, or form. I have my very conservative views in regards to many of the things, but in regards to an individual's rights, yearns, wants, and desires as an individual, as an American citizen, and as a Texan or a citizen of Brownsville, more power to you. I'll fight to represent, and I'll fight to protect, and I'll fight to promote. One of the things that I've been very, very passionate about is Kimberly. When Kimberly, Kimberly has.
Thank you for that.
And I continue to stand. I've been to every single vigil. I didn't make this last one because I was on my sabbatical. But with that said, again, I think I've shared enough with the family that my heart is with them, and I will do anything and everything in my poor power to help in any which way. And I don't think that the city's resources have been used to the greatest extent in order to find answers to the questions that not only the family has, many of our community members have, not just the LGBT community, but our community as a whole. We want answers to what happened, what went wrong.
And there's still no information on that at all whatsoever.
Nothing. And it's upsetting. It really is upsetting. And it is probably one of the things that upsets me the most in regards to my time as someone who has been out here promoting things. With that said, y'all discussed the pride flag, and let me say, guys, again, I feel that anyone and everyone should have the right to wave any and every flag out there. But my opinion is my opinion in regards to it waving on anything that is governmental or city property. I don't think it is the place for it. And y'all mentioned, I think I received a clip that, it was inclusive in that sense. I don't feel that it is. And one of the things that I also shared is, again, it's my opinion that no governmental building out there should be waving the Blue Lives Matter flag.
Yeah, well, it wasn't the actual pointing at the finger at you. It was more of people were saying Roy is the one who wanted to put the pride flag all over the place.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned that, because I never made that attack on Roy ever said that this is his stance. And you mentioned something about that you had been one of the promoters of the LGBTQ task force. I never said that either, because despite
No, actually, you did. There was a show you did with Jessica. She came on your show after one of our forums.
She
And
made
you guys said, let's look at the facts. Roy is one of the chief architects, one of the co-architects
but
of
that
this
was
task force and one of the founders.
that came from her. I
Okay.
said, "Oh, but the truth of the matter is, Roy, I have no knowledge of it, and I don't share something as fact unless I feel that there is something factual to it."
Good.
So, like I said, my personal opinion, and again, it's just my opinion, and I'll address this. My personal opinion is that the only 3 flags that should be out there waving in any governmental office here in the city of Brownsville, again, American flag, Texas flag, and city of Brownsville flag. That's just a thing of opinion. Again, it's nothing against you as a candidate or you as an individual. Again, anyone and everyone could wave any and every flag that they want out there. Again, more power to people. Again, I am a constitutionalist at heart, and I love my Constitution, and I love the opportunity granted to every citizen in order to express their wants, their beliefs, their yearns, their desires. More power to people. But I never came out to say that, oh, well, he was the one that was on the task force. If Ms. Puente Bradshaw made mention of that, again, I can't control what the opponent states or does not state. I had no knowledge in regards to but with that said, will always fight for anyone's right.
No, and definitely, I'll agree. I've never, and I would never try to cast you as homophobic. I've never seen anything to indicate that to me. But yeah, I think we do disagree on that, because with regard to like just the flag, for example, I'm absolutely a proponent of, our men and women out there in blue, our men and women out there in red. I would absolutely advocate for the blue line flag flying at designated times throughout the year, the red line flag flying at designated times throughout the year. When it comes to, I mean, these are the men and women who put their lives on the line every day for our safety as a community. So I absolutely would be an advocate for that. And I know there's citizens out there asking for that, and I would support that. With regard to the equality flag, I think the umbrage I had was just people saying, well, that divides the city. When it's a flag that's about inclusivity and equality and everybody's equal, I'm hard pressed to see how that divides a city. And then to the question of, well, on city property or on a government building. And if we're constitutionalists, let's take that to its core. If you've ever watched, and I know you guys have all watched city commission meetings, every meeting is started with a prayer. And now I'm a Christian. I taught catechism. I did my sacraments growing up at Christ the King. I taught catechism at St. Luke. My relationship with Christ is very strong. But if we're constitutionalists, then why is every city meeting being started with a prayer? And why are we putting that out over the internet? Or why is that okay, but it's not okay to just fly a flag that's something symbolic without spreading it out in the world out there? Is that not a double standard? If it's fair and equal for everyone. And also when we talk about the right to peaceably assemble, First Amendment, the public lands, public spaces, public parks, those are the areas where citizens are allowed to exercise those rights, because I can't go into your front yard and take opposing views to what you believe in and what you feel without your permission. But public property, we're allowed to peaceably assemble and peaceably demonstrate. And so with regard to the flag last year at the Convention and Visitors Bureau, that's public land. And the city gave its blessing. And I think in part because of the message that this is just saying that everyone is welcome in Brownsville. Everyone's included in Brownsville, and we don't discriminate against anybody. It's definitely not intended to divide us. Well, no, in my opinion.
Again, and I respect your opinion. Again, my opinion continues to stand. Again, I don't want any other flag, because and I've made mention this again. My platform, my stances I've shared on my page, and I'll continue to share them, guys. Then we're going to have to, be waving a different type of flag every other day. And again, it's just if you do it for one, you're going to have to do it for another. And I'll give you an example. When I was on the BISD board, they were coming out and saying, hey, let's give Hope, that prayer group, let's give them a discounted rate at the Sam Stadium. And
I remember that.
I fought against it. I stood up against it. I said no. And people were surprised. They said, Erasmo, aren't you a minister at church? Aren't you a preacher at church? Don't you believe in prayer? They said, you better believe I believe in prayer, 100%. I mean, I'm in the wrong business if you're not believing in prayer. it doesn't mean that I'm going to be okay with a church group getting the Sam Stadium at a discounted rate, which later on we learned was another one of the tranzas from Sylvia Atkinson. But that's a story for another show.
And thank you for taking that stand.
But I took
That's
a
good.
And the comment that I made, and which I got ridiculed for, was what's going to happen next week when the Church of Satan asks to rent the Sam Stadium at a discounted rate too. They say, "Oh, that's why you can't compare one to the other." I'm going like, really? Really, guys? If you do it for one, you're going to have to do it for everyone. And again, it just becomes too much work for a lot of individuals out there. And again, let me say again, I love all flags. I just want the three flags. My opinion on these things. The other comment that they shared with me that y'all had made was in regards to Six Flags over Texas, but only three flags over Brownsville, bro. But let me say that the other comment was in regards to Brownsville being stagnant. And I'll elaborate a little bit on my stance in regards to Brownsville being stagnant, because that is one of the things that Commissioner Ben East threw my way. Like, well, Erasmo saying that it's stagnant. Like, first of all, I didn't say the word stagnant didn't come out of my mouth. Stagnant came from the forum, Roy, that we were in with the CDCB, and I think I got that one right.
CDCB.
I'm always going CBCB. CDCB. The CDCB, if you remember, they were the ones that shared us these graphics, which they were asking questions from, where they mentioned that Brownsville had been stagnant. And I concur. And the amount, it was being in reference to the median in regards to the income. I have the chart here with me right now. But again, it's not a thing. That's where my word stagnant came in. Now, when I refer to stagnant, I say that we're not growing at a rate in regards to business popping up, new things coming to the city of Brownsville, as they are for other cities throughout the valley, such as McAllen, such as Edinburgh, such as FAR. I mean, I come from Monterrey every other week because I go regularly. And, it really pisses me off to see Top Golf in FAR. FAR's a rancho, man. FAR is a rancho. They got Top Golf. We got taco. Yeah. And I say that jokingly, and the people
we've got some of the best taco trucks. We've got some of the best taco restaurants.
We got some of the best tacos in the world. But I say that jokingly. People are like, that's what you're just saying. And I said, no, I'm not. Again, I just want great things for Brownsville too. And one of the things that I've shared, and I shared during my race, and I'll continue to share. One of the reasons why I disapprove so greatly in regards to the job performance of our current and our previous commissions and commissioners, elected officials, is instead of adding on or growing to things, is that we've been in a decline. That's what I mean by stagnant. And I'll share two examples. One of them is Camille Playhouse, and you're familiar with that. Yep. Camille Playhouse, they started a GoFundMe page last year, and again, my concerns are, why aren't we as a city protecting our gems? Because if you know anything about me, I am a patron of the fine arts.
Oh yeah.
I one of the reasons why I was in Mexico City was so I wanted to visit the museums. I wanted to go out there to the pyramids because I love architecture. I love history. I love the arts. Bellas Artes. And I go to Camille Playhouse as often as I can. We haven't had the opportunity because of the pandemic, but it really hurt, that we had to get rid of a lot of our folk out there. A lot of great people. Now that I think that they're at St. Joe, which is great for them. Yeah. But again, guys, my concern is, why can't we continue to support and push forward that which makes Brownsville shine? And our fine arts are one of those things that make Brownsville shine because of the culture behind it and because of the art behind it. My other concern in regards to proving the stagnation and the direction that this commission and previous commissions have taken was the GoFundMe page for the zoo. I mean, come on, man. How is our zoo I mean, one of the top 10 zoos in the country back in the 80s. One of the top 10 zoos in the country. How is it that they started a GoFundMe page to feed the animals? And, that's what really, really irks my chain and is evident that, we're not putting our resources in that which makes Brownsville shine. And this is where my stagnation comments come from, Roy. Again, look at our airport. Roy, I know you're a young'un, but
Thank you.
let me say, Roy, I remember the time when our airport was the airport in the valley.
Way before my time.
Yes, not before mine. Not before mine. But it was the number one. It was labeled Brownsville. Our motto was the crossroads to the hemispheres.
Right. Yep.
The crossroads to the hemispheres. And then, again, we started to let everything sink. Why didn't we invest in our airport back then? The Amelia Earhart Airport, the Lindbergh Airport. Why didn't we have the vision to continue to invest in it? We didn't have that vision for the zoo either. And I'm not blaming this city commission for it. But again, it is evidence suffice to prove that we are stagnant. And I agree with the CDCB. Unfortunately, economic development hasn't been pouring into the city of Brownsville. We're very fortunate, Roy. Very, very, very fortunate that we've got SpaceX. And let me say, a lot of people may disagree with it, and I don't care for the gentrification either. And I don't care for a lot of the same concerns that a lot of the people of the city of Brownsville have. My concerns is that the current city commission, this current county commission, they're going to bend over backwards to do anything that Elon Musk wants. And that's concerning to me. That's concerning to me because
we need balance.
Yeah, I want Brownsville to shine. I want Brownsville to shine because it's Brownsville. And we are the seat of the county. We should be the star of the valley. Should be. But we're not because we're stagnant. And I'm sorry, people will say, Erasmo, you're always comparing McAllen to trying to compare McAllen to Brownsville. And you can't compare McAllen to Brownsville because they got Monterrey money. Why can't we get Monterrey money?
We can if we do it right.
Exactly. Roy, come on, man. Look at McAllen announced 4 weeks ago. Hey, we've got flights to Monterrey. Boom. You can't get a flight from Monterrey to McAllen. Mm-hmm. And then Harlingen says, hey, we got flights to Monterrey. And they had to even expand on it because they sold out like hotcakes, and going like, what the hell? And Brownsville?
Yep.
Stagnant.
Missed opportunities. There's lots of missed opportunities. One of the comments I saw come across the screen, and I wanted to touch on that because one of the guys said you can't serve 6 masters. There's only one master to serve out there. And that's, in my heart, that's Jesus Christ. That's the Lord God. And he tells me, serve the community, love thy fellow man. That's what it teaches. It doesn't say you can only serve the community here or only serve the community there. You can go out and touch people everywhere. So there's nothing wrong with serving in multiple boards, in multiple areas. There's nothing wrong with Erasmo being on the altar on the weekends and preaching to his congregation and then being on the internet during the day. And he's got his fan base there and being a candidate. If he were a city commissioner, would that be serving 3 different masters because he's a city commissioner and a pastor and a podcast host? No, that's not serving 3 masters. He's still serving the one master, and it's about right and wrong. He's just doing it in different areas. So it's not serving 6 different masters. That's not a good comparison right there, in my opinion. And on Camille Erasmo, and thank you for your support for Camille. Camille is a bit of a unique situation in that it's one of the entities within the Midi Cultural District. It's one of the nonprofits, but it's also the only one that's not city property. It's not a city building. So there's some unique instances right there.
Yeah, I just want a lot of our funds to go for, to go again.
And the city is being very supportive with Camille, even though it's not a city building. They're being very supportive in how they're working with us, both to help keep up the place. We work closely with Parks and Rec and the city manager's office, and comms and marketing is helping us with promotion. And we just approved a new effort to collaborate more with the Communications and Marketing Department and Convention and Visitors Bureau for marketing Brownsville as a whole to outside areas in Mexico, in the U.S., but joint efforts.
Well, I just want that which makes Brownsville shine and can actually continue to enhance the opportunities for economic development in our area, to work on these things. And look, and one of the things that I've shared, and again, I've got like 20 more minutes, but I'll share these real quick. One of the things that I've shared regularly, and I almost every other day, is when you're, and look, I understand that at this point in time, things have gotten so out of hand that it's a lot more expensive to fix a lot of the things when they could have been nipped in the bud so many years ago, to whereas, we wouldn't be in the same situation that, we are now. It's just unfortunate. But again, it doesn't mean that we, throw our hands in the air and say, well, ni modo. No, we've got to find a solution for our zoo. We got to find a solution for our airport. I mean, now that we've spent $58 million, $52 million in regards to the terminal. Now let's start working on the runways, and let's start, working on bringing, airlines here to provide some service so that we can continue to generate revenue for our city. That's here there. The other thing I think that I've made mention, and I'll say this, is in regards to, I think, and I'll say this, I think that there was a sort of a little variance in regards to the support for the city manager, the mayor, the city commissioners, and all this stuff. And again, I'll say my thing. My concern is, where are they? And we could, to Tyros and ask and all these. My concern is, where are they? We have yet to hear from them, from any of them. And it's really, really, very, very unfortunate, because one of the things that I want to feel is that they are accessible, they are out there, they are constantly, informing the city of what is going on. And I think that my concerns with that, Roy, was that during the February freeze, we didn't hear from anyone until 3 days after.
I agree 100%. I agree. The city was derelict in being upfront. This wasn't a tornado that sprung up on us out of the blue. We knew there was a winter wave coming. There was absolutely steps that could have been taken. I think we've even talked about them on this show, where we could have had agreements with BISD to open up schools. We could have put generators in strategic locations and opened up shelters. They're just so much better prepared. And yes, when we're talking about the $100 million plus that PUB had and isn't accounted for yet, that should have been in a more reliable grid, better generators for emergency situations. I'm looking forward to that audit coming back. And in my opinion, it's not coming fast enough. And I have serious reservations about whether or not I'll even trust what's in it when I see it, because there's other audits that I still don't trust and still want to get to the bottom of if I'm elected.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I'm probably not going to be.
You're not going to buy it all either. Yep.
Because, again, those are some of our concerns. And look, Commissioner Ben Nish ran 4 years ago, Roy. 4 years ago, I have his flyer. Ran on Tenasca. I mean, he made T-shirts. Bro, he made T-shirts with a circle and Tenasca all over it. He gave me one. I wore it. I think I still wear it every so often when I'm out and about. Guys, they've done nothing. And so close to election time, then all of a sudden, now let's effect an audit. And even then, I'm very, very skeptical in regards to the information that's going to be produced and the accessibility that's going to be given by the individuals that are running PUB right now. And I got into a tit for tat with one of the PUB board members.
I saw that with
Mr.
Lopes.
Tim Lopes. Tim.
Yep, I saw that. I saw your show that day.
And Tim knows I love Tim. He may be upset with me. I mean, I still consider him a friend. I like Tim, and I understand that he was like, "Oh well, PUB," and I'm more power to you. But again, we just want individuals that serve on these boards to be accessible to the point where they'll be forthcoming in regards to, answering questions. And when we ask questions, that they say like, well, we don't know. What do you mean you don't know? You sit on the board. You're supposed to know. And again, a lot of the different individuals on a lot of these boards, they forget. It's something that you mentioned. You said that you serve Jesus Christ, which is okay. I appreciate that as a pastor. But ultimately, individuals that serve on these boards and on these committees, they don't serve Jesus Christ. They serve the citizens of Brownsville, and they're accountable to the citizens of Brownsville. I don't care who appointed individuals to boards and committees. They should have a greater calling, because even when we're elected officials, we swear to the Constitution of the United States. And I'm hoping that a lot of these people that are appointed to these boards, they make at least an affirmation or a statement stating that they're out there going to serve the people of Brownsville as a whole.
And yeah, they take an oth of office when they get appointed to those boards. And keep in mind, when I said Jesus Christ, it's also the teachings of love thy neighbor and serve thy fellow man. And so, that's absolutely accountability to the people, service to the people. I'm just saying it's not multiple masters.
I was making it funny.
I know. And let me address. I know one of the concerns out there from folks has been that I've wavered on my position on issues, and I don't think that's the case. I mean, I'd love to hear which issue you think I've wavered on. When it comes to commissioners and city manager, there are things I've absolutely commended them on what they've done, and that's because I see more of their work behind the scenes than the average citizen does. By the same token, I'll be the first to condemn them for things like the winter storm and the lack of communication, just even the updates to the people on what was going on. I mean, I do it both ways. I'm not going to say you're just bad, there's no good. I'm going to look at it and call it like it is. I'm going to talk straight. And if they're doing good in one area, they're going to get commended. If they're doing bad in another, they're going to get condemned for it. But yeah, please let me know what issue if you think I've changed my position on an issue, let me know which one.
And it wasn't necessarily an issue, and I'll share my comment. The comment that I made was that I felt that throughout the campaign, it sort of went like, oh yes, I'm supportive of the city manager's office and the city manager and the job that they're doing, and then it sort of went to, well, maybe not so much, and then shifted on the way back. But again, that's just the way that I measured it. Again, I can't say like, well, these are the facts that show that this is what happened. This is just more of a feeling. But again, my stance in regards to the city manager's office and the city commission, who ultimately, oversees their budget and oversees their job performance and their job duties. My concern is, we're paying $1 million a year. The city manager's office, $1 million, and it's probably a little bit less, but let's say $1 million to the city manager's office. We just want to know exactly what their job duties are. What do they do for the citizens of Brownsville? And it seems that we don't have that information. My other concern was in regards to all these consultants that that we're hiring.
I agree.
$5 million, and look, Roy, this is my concern. You've got these individuals that are making hundreds of thousands of dollars at the city manager's office. What are they qualified to do?
No, I agree. Back in 2007, the last time I ran, that's when the big issue was the impact fees. And it was the Black and Veatch study. And these consultants had been paid thousands of dollars. And I'm like, number one, this study that we paid thousands and thousands of dollars for, the citizens are concerned that our rates are high because other people aren't paying their fair share. But that study that we paid for said the citizens' rates needs to go up. That was one of my big problems with it. Number two, I said, why are we hiring consultants? If there's anyone at PUB making six figures, and we know that there are, why don't they know how to do that? This is a simple algorithm. Is we want to build X, it's going to take so much money. So much of that can come from the public, from the utility itself. So much can be passed along to developers and contractors. You just plug in the numbers. High school students who are good at algebra could do this math, but we've got folks making six figures who had to hire outside consultants. That's absolutely concerning. I think it's wasteful for taxpayer money. I've been saying that for 13 years now. I agree with you 100% on it.
It's crazy. And look, I'll give you another example. Every 2 years, we go out there and spend $150,000 on marketing. $150,000.
Yeah.
We did it back when we did the logo. I don't know if you remember the logo change. That was
the igniting the future. Yeah,
horrible.
Yeah, I remember that.
I replicated that on my PowerPoint. I mean, literally replicated it on my PowerPoint. Going like, I just did the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I just get 10% of the $150,000.
And you know what bothered me about that? I remember when there was a big pushback from the community about it and spending that much money on it. And I know it wasn't just the design; it was the campaign also. But I remember one of the city commissioners made the comment. And it was almost like dismissive to the concerns of the public and saying, no, this is good. I know because I've got an MBA. And I'm like, I've got an MBA, but guess what? Even before I had an MBA, I could have told you don't need an MBA to know if it makes sense to spend that much money on a graphic or a logo. And that's why I like with Sombrero Festival, there's years for our t-shirt designs. We just open up a contest. Let people who are talented in the community submit your designs, and we'll choose our favorite. And if you're willing to let us use it, we put it out there and run a campaign with it. You know, we didn't have to spend $150,000 to have somebody design something for us.
Yeah, we could have easily given.
And I know you're pressed for time, Erasmo, but I did want to touch on one thing. And this is just, I know you're passionate about this subject. I'm passionate about it as well. But it's one that I think needs some fact checking on. And I want to open with a story because I was involved in the Elks Lodge for many, many years. And back when we had the Elks Lodge on Ruben Torres Boulevard, 802 and Country Club Road, right in front of the ICC. And organization was struggling. The property and building was appraised by the county, was appraised at about $350,000. Later that year, Lowe's came in and bought part of Crooked Tree and built a Lowe's right down the street from us. And as the head of the building foundation at the time, and as one of the officers of the Elks Lodge, we capitalized on that. And that property that had been appraised by the appraisal district at $350,000, we were able to sell for $1.3 million. And I'm very proud of that. And I bring that up because I know Casa de Nylon is a big one for you. And I don't disagree with you to some extent on it. My concern when I talk about the fact checking is when we're talking about the $2.3 million, that wasn't just for the Casa de Nylon building. That was for half a city block, part of which is the Casa de Nylon building. But when we say that this acquisition is only appraised at $600,000, $643,000, I think is the figure. That figure is specific to just Casa de Nylon and not to all the property that was part of that acquisition. So one, I think we just need to fact check that out a little bit, make sure we're representing it the right way to the public. But also, like I said, from a real estate perspective, one, state law, any one of us could have filed a lawsuit and undone that deal if there was not an appraisal on record from a licensed appraiser to justify the number, because it's against the law to pay over market value. So an appraisal had to be there. And like I said, with the Elks Lodge, a $350,000 appraised by the appraisal district sold for $1.3 million. And that's because the people out there who wanted to develop it saw the value and knew what they were going to do with it and said, yes, this property is absolutely worth that amount of money. So it has to do a lot with who's selling, who's buying, what they're buying for. I think if we were buying these buildings to tear them down and put up a parking lot, absolutely not. But I know that was part of a larger deal to try and keep the University of Texas engaged in that section of Brownsville. So I can understand where some of it comes from. But yeah, my reason for bringing it up is just the fact checking of the 2.3 being for just the Casa de Nylon versus half a city block.
And I'll respond to that. It's very, very simple. First of all, there's only one person that benefited from this $2.3 million. And that's what the biggest concern was. The individuals that benefited from it is that seems that I guess they own 75% of downtown anyway. And I'm just throwing out a number. I don't know if it's exactly 75%. That's where my concern is. Second concern is that we were lied throughout the process in regards to the Casa de Nylon building, that half a block that was sold to the city of Brownsville, because supposedly the reason that we were also in wanting to get that property was because Dr. Julieta Garcia, who was president of UTB TSC, it was going to be one of those caveats to keep them there. Come to find out, when we actually paid Galangsi $2.3 million, because he's the one that actually benefited from the sale of that property. Again, it's not so much the Casa de Nylon. Part of the problem with the Casa de Nylon building is, it could have been half a block of downtown property, but you always look at the sore thumb. That's the one you look at, and the sore thumb downtown, besides El Jardín Hotel, which we don't have to get into tonight, Casa del Nylon building. I see it right there all the time. It's that sore thumb that's there that they have done absolutely nothing with. Nothing. And we always get promises from these folks. I mean, we had promised that it was going to be City Hall. It was going to be city building, city offices. And people at the city offices were up in arms. I know I received a lot of complaints. Like, Erasmo, please help us. We don't want to go there because of the asbestos. It's an asbestos-filled building with lead. And I said, guys, what can I do? Second, they said it was going to be a training center for the fire department. And the fire department said, like, what? Like, excuse me? Really? And then it was going to be, and now they're saying that it's going to be this hub.
Entrepreneurship
hub. Now, which one is it? First of all, Roy, my concern with it is that they've lied to us throughout the whole process. That's more concerning. We did pay $2.3 million. Was it a bundle deal? Maybe. Was it to keep UTRGV here? No way, because Dr. Julieta Garcia said herself, y'all are crazy. I will never set foot in that building. I mean, it's on record. She stated, I will never set foot in that building. No way, Jose. And that's when they changed the caveat to say, like, you know what? Let's go down and give them Lincoln Park. Let's give them something to keep them here. But they definitely did not want Casa de Nylon. And again, it maybe the whole half a block. But the only thing we see is how it is being used today. And it's not being used as city offices. It's not being used as firefighter training. It's not being used for entrepreneurship. I don't care what they say. It's not going to happen. What it's being used for is for two purposes. The homeless that live under the awning, and the individuals who use the wall to rest upon as they're waiting to donate plasma at the plasma center. It's the only thing that it's being used for at this point in time. But when I mentioned Casa del Nylon, it's not to deviate from the facts and to misinform individuals. It's just we've been constantly being lied about it, and I say lied about it because promises made, promises that haven't been kept. And again, only one individual benefited from those $2.3 million. One individual who's still, unless I'm mistaken, on the zoning and planning board or commission.
I don't know if he still is or not. I haven't paid attention to that board. I know he was.
And it's like putting the fox in the hen house.
And I'll agree with you that there's several things we've seen with this city where they say XYZ is going to happen and it never comes to fruition. So I tend to agree with you that I don't believe it until I see it. Until it's actually happening, then I'll believe it, because we've seen those promises fall through too many times. And on that note, I think one of the things that's important is when we talk about tax abatements or anything else, to whether you're talking about luring a company down here or whether you're talking about helping an existing company expand, the benefits of any type of an abatement should not come until they've delivered for the citizens. If they're saying, I'm going to create 500 jobs, well, guess what? When those 500 jobs are there and you're putting out payroll of $75,000 a year to each of those positions, now your abatements can kick in. Not we give you abatements now and you might give us jobs 5 years from now. That's not the way it should work, because we've come out on the short end of the stick far too often when we do that. We've got to change the way we think and do business in that respect for economic development. And yeah, just not look at outside. Look at how can we help the local machine shops, the local business owners expand and do the manufacturing and create jobs that are good paying jobs. It doesn't always have to be somebody from the outside.
100%. And again, that's where my $2.3 million for the Casa del Nylon. I always say Casa del Nylon, it's Casa del Nylon. That's where my comment of the Casa del Nylon comes. It's just the frustration that I think that a lot of individuals, but part of the problem.
And I agree. I understand where you're coming from, and I know you're passionate about it. Like I said, I'm just the facts and figures guy, and that's why I'm like, well, the 2.3 to 600 is not a fair comparison because it's one parcel versus the two parcels. But I know where you're coming from.
But let me say, I don't even think it's worth $600,000. I mean,
I checked it today. And I sent copies of the appraisals from the appraisal district to Manny. And it's a 643 for the Casa de Nylon and 300 and something for the other. The parcel that the city bought for 2.3 is on the appraisal district records today for well over $1 million. And like I say, just like the Elks Lodge, 350,000 we sold for 1.3 million. And that's because on the open market, anybody who's been in real estate knows, one, everything is for sale. It's just a question of price. And two, what it's worth is not what your realtor or an appraiser tells you it's worth. It's what somebody's willing to pay you for it. Because if nobody's willing to pay it, it ain't worth it.
And that's exactly my concern, that the city commission under Tony Martinez, Rose Gowan, and these folks, they bought a piece of crap for $2.3 million that we will probably never be able to use. They've tried. They failed. They failed us then. what's to make us believe that they're going to not fail us in the future?
Yeah,
But
they're
again,
gonna have to prove us wrong or prove themselves right, because I'm not gonna hold my breath waiting for it to happen. I'll believe it when I see it.
yeah, and one of the other examples that I've shared is, again, I look at how many promises we've received, and again, I know that right now housing is working on the El Jardín building, and they're supposedly they're going to do the housing out there, low cost housing. Good luck,
Yeah.
good luck to the city of Brownsville. I just don't see it happening, and I'll start to believe it once it starts to to be a reality. I just it gets to a point, Roy, where you stop trusting a lot of the things that these individuals start saying, because it's one thing after another after another. Part of the problem is, again, we have to remind people, because people tend to forget. We've had Tenasca, $135 million. God only knows where they went.
Mhm.
Titan Tires, the bridge to nowhere. We've got one thing after another, after another, after
Yep.
another. And then new commissioners come on, and a new mayor takes the seat and says, hey, guys, no, we're going to make sure we give you the information. No, guys, we're going to be, proactive in things. We see absolutely no proactivity from this city commission. And I'll give you this last example. Just 2 days ago, we had every single city in the Rio Grande Valley being proactive in regards to the winter storm that was coming, to this freaky storm that was
The
coming.
rainstorm, yeah.
Whatever, yeah, this freaky storm that was coming. Every single county in Rio Grande Valley, every single municipality was out there being proactive. And thank God that we didn't need sandbags. Well, very few people probably would have benefited from sandbags. But I want a city commission, I want a county commission that is proactive to the point where other individuals, have to follow our lead instead of us being left with nothing. We didn't hear from anyone, Roy. We didn't hear from the mayor. We didn't hear from menos from the city manager or anyone in his office that are earning $1 million a year. We heard from no one in regards to the storm, not one single city commissioner. And that is infuriating.
And I can't disagree with you on that. I know I've heard some citizens talk about there were sandbags being given away. I think I heard it on the show last night with Manny and Bam, but I can't say that, I heard from the city that, hey, this is what we're doing for this storm that's coming, or this is where you can get
you would
bags. I
think
didn't hear that.
You think there would be announcements on TV, radio, social media, plastered all over the place. Get your sandbags, be prepared for the storm. None of that stuff. It was just silent. It was like if nothing was happening.
It was like if nothing was happening. That was my concern. And again, those are my concerns with the city manager's office. $1 million, and I just don't see it. I don't see it. And I'm sure that a lot of other folks don't see it as well in the city of Brownsville. But again, I hope that with this new city commission that, hopefully will start late June, if not sooner than that, we get something a little bit different. But again, this isn't our first rodeo. Every 2 years we get politicians that make a mess load of promises, and we get very little for those promises actually. But guys, I have to go to my sister's house because she's going to give me a piano, and I like.
Do you play?
No.
I've always wanted to play piano, but I've never had the time to learn.
But I like free stuff, and hey, when it's free, and so one of these nice ones too. So I'm going to leave you guys. I appreciate the invite, and again, Roy, I mean,
and Erasmo, just for the record, so that everybody's aware out there, there's never been a time where you've said, "Hey, Roy, come on my show," and I'm like, "No, I'm not going to go on your show." We've never had that discussion. That's never happened.
No, one of the things that I've said is you have an open. Anytime you have a chance, you just send me a message. Hey, man, I got some time tonight. More power to you guys. You're always welcome, and I've extended that invitation to everyone, to Jessica, to Ben Nees, to who's that other guy? Pedro Cardenas.
Pedro.
Sorry,
Pedro Cardenas.
Pedro Cardenas. But it's an open invitation again, guys. One of the things, and the only reason, Roy, that I don't go out there and say, "Hey, Roy, you want to come on my show?" Oh, you guys. The only reason I don't do that is because, again, guys, I'm going to separate myself a little bit from the process because I want you all to run a good race. And look, the last thing that I want any candidate out there is to think like, I actually had a candidate, and I'll share this real quick. I had a candidate walk into my office this afternoon, says, I'm running for this position, and I said, hey, more power to you. I said, I said, will you please not bash me? And we're like, I don't even know you, but I appreciate that, I guess. But look, one of the things is I truly believe in the electoral process. I believe in it. I have faith in it, and I want two candidates to duke it out in that ring. And I want that the platforms be shared, promises made, but more than anything is I want them kept, of course. But with that said, I'm going to let the voters decide. And again, my social media platform, I am the king of all local social media. It's just it's a tough job, but somebody's got to do it. But my platform is your platform. It's Jessica's platform. It's Pedro, and Commissioner Nice. Come on and share your platform. Again, I don't think I've ever been disrespectful to any other candidates. I express my views, and perhaps to the point that a lot of people find it offensive. But hey, if you're in politics, you know that you are in the kitchen, and you're going to have to take the heat.
Yep,
and
absolutely.
Like I told the individual that walks in my office, if you're timid now, wait till you go out after your opponent. Your opponent goes after you. If you cannot take the heat, please stay out of the kitchen. Stay out of the kitchen. But no, Roy, honestly, Godspeed, man.
Thank you.
Godspeed. I am anxious for you to pitch your case to be my commissioner, because again, I live in District 3, and I want to be truly represented at the commission by my city commissioner. Something that I feel that I did not have as a resident of District 3 in the past 4 years. Again, that's my sentiment, and the sentiment of a lot of the individuals out there. So again, you have a month and a half. More power to you, man. My prayers are for you and for every other candidate out there. And again, anytime y'all want to come on the show, with Jessica, without Jessica, you're welcome. And again, the only reason that I'm not out there, come on my show, is because again, I want to step aside and let y'all do y'all's thing.
No, I would encourage you to host a forum. I know Manny's going to work on coordinating a forum for us here as well, and I know there's other groups out there trying it. But I think these forums are very healthy because you guys have different bases. There's some overlap, but some of you guys have your own unique followers, and it's important that everybody hear from the candidates and get to make an educated decision when they vote.
Yeah, I know Erasmo's got to run. Listen, I appreciate you coming, and
thank you, Erasmo. We're going to take some of the audience questions.
I don't know what people were expecting, but if you dudes could talk all the time, you, Roy, Erasmo, and even Jessica, I mean, you guys have some powerful minds right there with a lot of capabilities. Can you imagine what you guys work together doing stuff? You can accomplish so freaking much. It's not even funny.
That's right. Let's have lunch soon, Erasmo. Let's talk.
Yeah, shoot. And let me say, I appreciate those words, Manny, but let me say, one of the things that I'll say this: whoever wins the District 3, I will be your servant whilst you serve our community. Whoever wins. Same thing with District 4, District 2, District 1. I am your servant, and I make that promise openly to the point that as long as an individual is out there serving the community, more power to them. And again, one of the things that I think people think is that Erasmo just wants to come out and point out the negative part. No, man, I want to come out and do everything is peachy keen in the city of Brownsville. I want to come out and do that because again, and you can vouch for me for this. I'm a patron of the fine arts, and as a patron of the fine arts, we look at beauty, at every single performance and everything. We look for it, we yearn for it. We want to, to squeeze it, out of a bad situation, even a bad performance or stuff. We want to focus on the good. Unfortunately for us, there's just too much of the bad going on that needs to be taken care of. And anyone that says, well, everything's good, if that were the case, we wouldn't have people running for office. And the reason why we have multiple candidates running for positions is because they feel that they can do a better job than their predecessors. If it wasn't the case, then we'd let them stay in office. Well, not anymore, right? But we'd
Not
let
anymore.
them stay in office for as long as they wanted. But Roy, again,
Hey, 2 quick points at Osmo before you go. 2 quick points. I wanted to say thank you because I did not start talking about bus stops until you started talking about bus stops. I was not aware that that was a big issue. So thank you for that because I know how important that is now for the community. And the other thing I wanted to say, and this is subject to Manny's approval, of course, but I've already committed to Manny because we've heard from people that these politicians are out here and then you never see them again after the election until it's time for re-election. Yeah. And I've committed to being out there, being accessible in public, face to face. But also I've told Manny I'm willing to come on his show, whether it's immediately the same night of every city commission meeting and answer questions from the public on how we voted on things, or whether it's the next business day, whatever it is. And anytime that you're free, if you want to join me and Manny for something like that, I'd say you're more than welcome if Manny's up for it.
Absolutely.
I appreciate y'all guys. Thank you so much. And Roy, good luck.
Thank you.
Man.
Thank
good
you.
Luck. Let's do lunch soon.
Yes.
God bless you all. More power to you all. Thank you, Manny, for the invitation. I am.
Yeah, have a good night, Erasmo. Thank you so much. Roy Dos Santos, thank you again. You guys.
Well, you and I are going to stick around. We've got some questions to answer from the audience here.
Yeah, we'll do that. But you guys, again, Erasmo, before you go, you guys can do a lot of crap together, man. There's a lot of good stuff can happen here.
Oh, I'm not opposed.
Talk more, man. Talk more. Definitely. All right, Erasmo, have a great night.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
All righty. Now we get to the, what do you want to call this? The after hours portion or?
Yes. Well, I know. And because, there were some really great comments coming up there and really, really great points and questions. I know one that I saw that caught my attention. Ben was the commenter, and he was talking about how it's tough for one person by themselves to make a difference, because if there's people up there who are corrupt and they're going to keep wanting to do what they do, one vote's not going to be able to make a difference.
Oh, that was his comment that said, but he's just one man, right? Or something like that.
Right. But he's just one man. And that's true. I am just one man. But that's why I think it's important that you listen to the candidates, look at their track records, look at the experience. Yeah, there you go. Thank you for that, Ben Benavides. I've got a record of having gone toe-to-toe with the city and won several times. I've also got a record of being a consensus builder, of bringing people together and working through to solutions, because anybody can go in there and say, you know what, I'm going to fight and I'm going to shout louder than everybody else, and they're not going to like it, but I'm going to bitch until they listen to the people. Well, that's great, but this is about making changes that affect people's lives, and who is going to be successful in getting these changes made and implemented and executed. So it's not just about somebody who's going to get in there and talk loud. It's not just about somebody who's going to get in there and fight for you. Who's going to deliver results? And I've got a history of delivering results in the organizations I've been a part of. And that's why for those that I've been so blessed to be a part of, they've kept me around for so long, because I keep delivering. Because at any time, if I'm not delivering, they can kick my butt out the door. And they absolutely would, and they absolutely should if that's the case. But I like to think I keep delivering for them.
Everyone, if you've got comments or any additional questions, please post them here. I'm going to go back and just highlight a couple of them.
Yes.
Paul posted this earlier, and I wanted to get Erasmo's take on this also. And it's been brought up before, and when you've been here before, will either of you take a stance on to enforce laws prohibiting panhandling? That whole situation, I know it's difficult. It's not something but it is a nuisance. It's annoying.
It is. You know? And let me say, like on the tent city, one thing I will definitely say about that, I don't ever want to see us be like Austin, where you've got these tent cities popping up on public property.
Look what happened to in California, the beach. What's the beach?
I know what you're talking about. Yes,
Venice Beach. It's nothing but it's tent city all around the entire walk over there. And
I don't think that should be allowed to happen on public property. Tent City, if it's the one I'm thinking of here in Brownsville, I believe that's on private property, and I believe it's some type of ministry that is hosting that and coordinating that and feeding the folks who are living there. Now, I know there are ordinances that govern what happens on private property still, so we can look at something like that. But I have to respect individuals' freedoms and individuals' rights. And if somebody on private property says, I'm letting this guy camp out on my yard, we've got to be very careful on violating those rights. We don't want to do that.
Yeah.
The
tent city thing. I'm sorry, the tent city thing. I suppose, like you said, if somebody volunteers their land, or we can designate a certain part of the city for that, you know what? I probably have no problem with that. Mm-hmm. The panhandling thing, it's a little more delicate. You got guys walking out in traffic, and obviously if they're hungry, they're hungry, but a lot of these people are buying alcohol or drugs, and that's what they're doing with it, and causing traffic. Some of these guys almost get hit, many times, and it's just a nuisance there.
Now, and there's a good program that's a great example for this, and I'm blessed in that in my association with the MIDI Foundation, this is one of the organizations they've contributed to in the Austin area, and it's called Community First Village. It's just outside of Austin. This is part of the Mobile Loaves and Fishes program, and it really is a village with little individual housing units that you can rent. And it's community showers, community bathrooms, community kitchens. This is just like your own little dorm room. And you've got to pay some type of rent for it. You've got to contribute by working on the compound. They've got a blacksmith shop, garden, arts and crafts, all kinds of things that they do. And there's also a shuttle back and forth into town. So if you've got a job, you can get a job in the city and take the shuttle back and forth. Right now, you've got a place to call home. You're not having to live on the streets. And I know for couples, they've got RVs now. And they've even started doing 3D printed houses. So this is a great program. And I know the Middies are very interested in seeing something like that come to the Rio Grande Valley, because that would be a good way to give the folks who are down on their luck some dignity back and an opportunity, and do it in a way that's good from a health and safety perspective.
Yep. Abel says, Mr. Roy, I definitely wish the mayor would take these questions live the way you do, sir. There is an open invitation. I have chatted with Mayor Trey Mendez, and at a certain point, he will be on here to talk about things, and we're just waiting to hear for the right time for that. And
I always will, Abel. I will always come and answer questions live.
And there's been, like you answered me, because the mayor turned the other cheek, and I don't know. I'm sure the mayor gets a lot of comments, and I can imagine it's easy. I'm not making excuses for him or anything, but the amount of mail and comments and that he gets, I can imagine stuff gets lost in there. I understand it's not your position to control the city, but by answering the way you do, you should consider the mayor position in the future. Would you?
I probably won't have much of a choice, because if I'm lucky enough to be elected, I can only serve 2 terms. After that, my only option is to run for mayor or stop serving the city in that capacity. So I absolutely would consider that position if we did not have an effective mayor at the time, or if I thought the city had needs that I could best address. I would consider it.
There's another one, Roy, for mayor. I'm in, and my
Thank
people.
Thank you,
Ben. Yeah, Manny, but for the elderly, come on, man. What are you talking about? The 10 cities or the panhandling?
Well, and on the elderly, and I know there's the Geezers of Cameron County. They've got a group. And I don't think I've mentioned this to Emilio over there, but yeah, one of the things, I think that's a big untapped resource for us. We've been fortunate with the Board of Adjustment, and I like talking about that board because I'm proud of their work. We've got some folks that are well over 60 and that are retired. They've got the time, they've got the experience and the knowledge, and most importantly, because they're retired, there's no conflict of interest. They're not running a business where they're trying to land some big city contract. These people just have the spare time and want to give back. And I think that's a completely untapped resource for us. We've got to do more in that area. And then also the kids that are up and coming from college, like Erasmo was talking about earlier.
Yeah. Were you getting any kind of feedback or any kind of comments, or, what are you doing tonight with this program? I don't know.
The most comments I got with regard to this was people saying, why would you even consider doing that? You've got nothing to gain. And I said, no, I disagree completely. I said, I think I've got everything to gain, because I understand and I respect that you guys have your own fan bases out there and your own followers. And just like on your show, man, and when we see people asking, will you go on Erasmo's show and talk to Erasmo? I have respect for every citizen, whether they agree with me or not agree with me. And I'm willing to answer questions from anyone. So I'm happy to come on with anybody. I just want it to be on a platform that's fair and balanced. And that's another discussion I'll have with Erasmo if I'm ever on one of his shows. I want to keep it, let's stick to the issues. Let's keep it fact-based. I don't want to see personal attacks on individuals, even if it's an elected official. Talk about their record. Don't talk about their attire or what they look like, or are they too heavy, or are they too skinny, or anything. That's not where we need to go. And we're better than that as a people. We should be better than that as a city. When we talk about Brownsville not meeting its potential, that's part of why. Because we're down in the mud calling people fat or body shaming people, and there's no good reason for that.
That totally, I don't agree with that. As far as the dress code thing, I don't know. Maybe I opened up a can of worms just saying, when you're going to be on an official show or program,
Well, that's one of the other
hard
things.
A little bit.
One of the other pieces of feedback I got, I'm like, folks say, I hear nothing but good things about you, except that you wear chanclas too much in public. And I'm like, that's part of my trademark. I'm a parrot head at heart. I'm a big Jimmy Buffett fan, and yeah, if I could live on the beach under a palm tree, and if I knew how to play a guitar and do some 6-string music out there, I'd probably do that. But
hey, Abel says, Roy, that was a test question. Most candidates won't want to speak about the mayor position if they were part of the elite. You're a good guy. Best of luck again. I'm done commenting.
Thank you, Abel.
Right, Abel.
Thank you.
Yeah, I wanted to touch on that. I don't know. He had to take off at 8:30. The whole elite thing came up.
Oh,
and I'll ask you again, how does that sit with you? I mean, and I'll put this out there. I was actually kind of thrown in and associated with the elite thing over a situation a couple days ago, and I don't know how I feel about that.
Well,
I'll be honest because I know I'm not part of the elite, but
I'm not going to say it bothers me, but I'm not going to say it doesn't bother me. I guess it concerns me that that word is being used as a weapon. If you disagree with someone, well, they're going to label you, oh, you're elite.
Hey,
and
Chris.
You're part of the people that are causing problems in Brownsville, and that's why our city's not better.
Yeah.
So, when they say stuff like that, it creates a negative connotation for it. And one, it's not accurate. When we talk about elite, it's like, yeah, that's somebody that's not having to adhere to ordinance, that's not having to get the permits that every other little business owner has to get, that every other little citizen has to get. Those are the elite that they're calling a compadre up and getting fees waived and getting permits waived and not following the protocol every other citizen has to. Those are the elites we have to worry about. But me, because I've worked hard and I've learned the system and can work it to the advantage of myself, the organizations I fight for, and ultimately for the people of Brownsville, I don't think that's elite. I think that's impressive that you've got a kid who grew up on Southmost, graduated from public school, has worked hard, and a big part of that is the education that started with my mother teaching us at home before we even started kindergarten. That's not elite. That's as far as I'm concerned, that's part of the American dream. Is any kid can grow up from any part of the city and be successful like this.
Definitely. This was Chris Patterson. How you doing, Chris?
Thank you,
I
Chris.
haven't talked to you in a while. Roy Dos Santos is a huge supporter of veterans.
Yes, I am.
Rosie, citizens need to tune into all city committee meetings. Deep insight into the way agenda items are addressed. And,
Yep.
and I think that is something very interesting that people would like to know. Let's say one of these commission meetings is over, whether it's that night, like you said, or the day after. Like, what the hell was going on? Some people don't even know what's going on.
Right.
Some of these terms they don't understand, and it would be nice for somebody to come on and just clear up. This is what this was about. This is why they said that, and that's what this means.
Mm-hmm.
I think
there have been times where I've had a little bit of concern about the way some things are published on the agenda, where it doesn't give you the full picture of what could happen, what could be voted on. And I'm not a fan of that. I think it seemed like there was a little more transparency before in some respects.
Yeah.
So I want to talk to staff about that and see if we can't get it back to being something that's very reader friendly. So anybody who looks at it knows what's coming.
And I don't know how much the commission has to do with this or any say they've got. I wish there was a better way of transmitting these things than just one camera in the back of the room trying to cover everybody.
Yeah.
And you can't see, faces. I mean, I've seen other city commission meetings from other cities around the country, and they've got a couple different cameras, and they've got people on those cameras, and I'll call them a producer. They've got a producer or a director who's actually changing the camera so that everybody, whenever they speak, they're on camera and everybody can hear what they're saying.
Just like when you're shooting a sitcom, you've got multiple cameras. Sometimes you got 3 and 4 cameras, so you make sure you're getting all the angles. And honestly, and I understand and I respect the historical significance of City Hall and that it was the federal courthouse. But bottom line, this needs to be more about transparency and access for the public than about, well, this is a beautiful room, we want to keep our meetings here.
Yes.
So yeah, I think we need to construct new city commission chambers, which are bigger, can accommodate more people. There needs to be more people allowed to participate in public comment. And yeah, I agree with you. There should be multiple cameras in that room. And we've got a comms and marketing department now that could totally take this on and work with the media and the IT folks and make things like that happen.
Improve video, improve audio, definitely. Because even if we can't see anybody, it would help if we can at least hear clearly.
Absolutely right.
Let's see. Abel says, oh, hang on. Yeah. Illuminati. Okay, I get it. It's funny.
I love that.
That's funny, Abel. Lupito says, "Can you organize Winter Texans to help beautify and landscape around the expressway like Harlingen has done?"
I'm not familiar with what Harlingen's doing with regard to utilizing Winter Texans like that, but I'd love to look into it. I can tell you that we have talked to TxDOT in the past, because we'd hear frequently that in the Upper Valley, the sides of the highways look a lot nicer, a lot more regularly than they do in Brownsville. And what we found out was those cities are paying extra for TxDOT to come in and do cuts more frequently so that the appearance is better. And that makes sense, because, then that you look more welcoming to tourists out there.
Yeah.
But yeah, if there's an opportunity to mobilize volunteers, we should absolutely be looking at it. I think we pass up on too many offers from citizens to do things that would save the taxpayers money and make us a better city, and we need to capitalize on that.
Yeah, I agree 100%. How many here have seen outside just city commissioners meeting? You would get a better view of how organized or member attendance. And how many? Yeah, I agree. Definitely. Even this thing as simple as lighting. The lighting in there is horrible.
Yeah.
If you're going to televise this thing, well, you have to add lighting. There's no other way around it. Brian, you're very welcome. I love hosting these things. BEDC had a pretty comprehensive new board member handbook and induction training.
I'm glad to hear that.
I do want to add to that, when you were talking about that earlier also.
Mm-hmm.
I recently was accepted as a board member for the airport advisory board.
Oh, I heard about that. That's great. Congratulations.
But there was no, come on,
there's no orientation.
There was an email and the phone call. Great, come on, we'll give you a tour. Awesome. I got to see the new building before it was open.
Yeah.
But then really it was just like, all right, we're going to have meetings every quarter. And then the meeting started and I'm trying to figure out, okay, what's going on here?
See, and
am I supposed to say anything, or when am I supposed to say something, or
I have serious concerns about advisory boards that only meet quarterly, because to me, that's not enough time for you guys to, and you're in the industry.
Yeah.
How are you really going to affect change if they see you 4 times a year?
Yeah.
And my biggest concern, and I know there's been some change in the dynamic because I had a family member who was on that board previously, is before city boards used to report to the commission and were responsible for coming back to the commission to deliver a report. And as I understand it now, they report to the departments they fall under. And so if you report to the airport director as part of the airport advisory board, and you've got concerns about how the airport is being run, how easy is it for the staff in that department to bury your report so that it never sees the light of day? So I think advisory boards should absolutely continue to report back to the commission. I know it's more work for our commissioners, and I can't say that's what we pay you for, because we don't pay commissioners anything.
Right.
But that's what we elect you for, is to do that job. And you need to hear from the people, not just from the paid staffers. You need to hear from everybody.
And before I go on to the next few comments here, I just wanted to clear up, this was not a attack on Erasmo.
No.
These were some things that actually Erasmo brought up, and other people, and Roy did want to address. So by all means, not even close. This was never ever a gang up on Erasmo or nothing against him at all. This was actually the opposite. And Roy made himself available to answer, these issues that he did bring up. And I hope those were answered satisfactory. I don't have a problem with the way everything turned out. I hope everybody else can understand what happened. Louis, how you doing, Louis? What is your take on annexing the area in East Brownsville before Starbase takes it? I'd love to run for commission and get more involved with the city government, but I live outside the city limits.
Oh, I actually had a conversation about that just today, and I've had that conversation several times over the last 4 to 6 weeks. That's one of my biggest concerns, is that Elon Musk has already laid the groundwork in Austin to have his own city out there. And one of the first things the city does is start to extend its extraterritorial jurisdiction and annex new lands. And bottom line, that property value is going to go up. So that side of town headed towards Boca Chica Beach, if we don't annex it, Elon Musk will. Yeah. And that's tax revenue for our base that we need to keep in Brownsville. And also for any of you folks who live out there, and I know you've got some like Louis who want to be annexed and want to become part of our city. You've also got folks out there like, I don't want to pay more taxes, just leave us alone. But bottom line is, you've got to realize you're going to be in the crosshairs of someone. And do you want it to be Elon Musk and all these folks who are coming here from California and other states, and now you fall under their ordinances and their rules?
Right.
Or would you rather it be the city of Brownsville to annex you, where it's the citizens here, the locals' hometown, we make the rules, we've got our laws, you know what to expect. That's a choice you guys have to make as citizens out there if you might be affected.
Yeah, something should be done. Rosie, make it your time to attend. Check out the website to know what is being discussed. Citizens need to make the effort, and that's very true.
Good for you, Rosie.
Citizens do need to get more involved.
Yep.
And on the same token, I'm a big believer in government. City government should be communicating more, putting more stuff out there. I mean, a lot better. You would learn so much. I know I have, and I have as well. Fellas, can we start by sharing a map outlining the districts, set a budget for Facebook ads, direct mailers, etc.? We've come to restructure everything to get new voters. Change comes with change. That's a good point.
This.
I know a lot of people do want maps, saying they don't know what the boundaries are to their districts.
Here,
a lot of people don't even know what the districts are.
If I send this to you on Messenger, can you put it on the screen?
Yep.
Let's do that. Paste.
And Abel posted this comment earlier, and I'm going to repeat it here. And he put it out there again. We didn't get SpaceX. SpaceX got us.
Hey, that looks edited, because I could have sworn when I read it earlier, it says we didn't get SpaceX. SpaceX got us. Debate me. And no, I wouldn't debate you, Abel. I agree 100%. Yeah, we didn't have a say in that. They asked us for cursory opinion and feedback, and will we show support? But honestly, if Brownsville had said, nope, not in our town, do we really think they wouldn't be here right now? Of course not. The clout came from Austin and Cameron County. And yeah, we were not going to be the sole voice that could have stopped it. SpaceX absolutely chose us. We did not choose them.
Yeah, that's again, it's and you talked about earlier about keeping them accountable, and I think
I love this.
Elite is a personal, hey, Chuck. Elite's a personal view. You guys are elite because I can get information from you that I can't get from other people. Manny's daily show keeps me informed, even though I disagree with almost everything he says.
I like that, Chuck. That's awesome. Yeah, and Chuck, I'll absolutely take a lead in that context. There, it's a compliment.
Chuck's a good guy. Good. Nice comment. Yep. And then Snoopy says, not sure if this has been talked about, but Trey needs to be more present. He refused to come on Manny and Erasmo show, and I think that is definitely needed. Well, he didn't exactly, at first he refused, and then he got back to me and said, let these elections get done, and then that he will visit. So I will reach out to him to see. Yeah.
I hope they do, because even, this has been a year that our city's never had in the past, with the pandemic, the winter storm, just the little things going on. And bottom line, press conferences are great. But, press conferences, they have their script, they're controlling the narrative, and they're going to tell you what they're going to tell you. You might have some reporters that get to ask questions, but that's about it. These are so important because the average citizen will be able to come on here and ask their question. And as an elected official, we should be willing to sit down with the people like this and talk. Think of it like a little fireside chat, just like the president used to have. That's what we should be doing with the American people, with the citizens of Brownsville.
Yeah,
because everybody has the right to ask.
And you know what? And it's not easy, because you're going to get criticism, and you're going to hear what people have to say.
Yep.
But being a leader for the city, I mean, you have to listen to those things. That's part of the job. Mm-hmm. And being a leader is what you do with that information and what happens with that information.
And remember, I know some folks have said also, well, politicians are going to say what we want to hear just to get our vote. And I've said it on this show before, that's not me. And you guys know that I had a different view than the majority of citizens when it came to the term limits. And yeah, it would have been smart for me to keep my mouth shut or say, oh, I absolutely agree, let's do it, because we know it's going to pass. But inside, it's not in me to lie to the public to get a vote. I'm going to tell you how I feel, even if I know it's not the popular opinion. And same thing with the city manager. It's popular to a lot of the candidates out there. We're bashing the city manager, bashing the mayor. It'd be real easy for me to jump on that train. But I'd rather judge them fairly and say, this is where they've failed and this is where they've succeeded, and we hold them accountable. And that's how I'll always be.
Peppermint Patty, well, it's an Erasmo platform that has caused citizens to become more aware of the happenings in our city. He is labeled negative, and many dislike him, but he has gotten people to sit up and notice. He has, and he was one of the first to go out there and do that. I got 100%. And
like I said earlier, I just want to make sure, now that he's got you guys as an audience and he's got your trust, I think he has an obligation to make sure when we put out information that we vetted it, that we checked it, and that it is factual. We don't want to have any misconceptions out there because if anybody can attack what we're throwing out there and show that it's invalid, then everything we do and say comes into doubt, and we don't want that. We want you guys to have reliable information. We want this to be a reliable show, and I believe it is. We want Erasmo show to be a reliable show, and I think we can get it there.
Yeah, and I've had Roy contact me. I mean, you've been on numerous times already. He's like, hey, you know what? I need to answer this, and I need to answer this. We need to do another show. I'm like, okay, let's do another one.
And I've told Manny several times when we're doing these, I'm like, Manny, don't pull any punches. Don't go easy on me. If you think there's a tough question that's not being asked of me, ask me, hit me with it, because I don't want to shy away from anything. Nothing is off limits.
And the same goes for you guys viewing right now.
Yes, please. And I know there was another show I was on. I think it was Charlie Atkinson's show. And my cousin Eddie, who's an attorney in Houston, he's a regular commenter on the show. And I think he's even commented on yours a few times.
Yep.
But I know some of the guys associated with the production told me at one point that, hey, your cousin pulled us aside and said, stick to the issues. Don't bring up the fact that Roy is gay. Don't attack his personal life. And man, you have no idea how much that meant to me, because my cousin's a conservative and he's the oldest grandson. He's 1 month exactly older than me. And I'd say we were always competitive, but he always kicked my ass at everything. I think I beat him at chess one time. He was by far a superior athlete, especially at tennis. And I love Eddie. But that meant a lot, that he would say he didn't want people coming at me like that. And I really appreciate it. But no, I think if I'm asking for the public trust to serve you guys, then yeah, you should be able to ask me about anything, even my personal life. So don't hold back. Don't be shy. Yeah, I'm not going to be offended.
Some of the criticism I got from when you were on this last time was that we spent too much time on the LGBTQ issue. And, my response was, you know what? These were things that kept being thrown at him
exactly
about the LGBTQ issue. And it seemed like it was the most important thing to a particular group, and that they wanted to do that. That's why we spent time on that. It was only for that reason. It's not just
I didn't say I want to talk about this all night. It's
exactly.
It's ad after ad. Well, not ad, but post after post after post is all about this one issue. So yeah, it deserves an answer.
Yeah, I hope that day comes when it's like that's not even a concern anymore. He's gay, so
exactly.
So what?
Exactly.
And then this guy's Chinese and this guy's Indian. It's like, so who cares?
I haven't achieved as much as I have because I'm gay. And I'm not going to fail because I'm gay. That my being gay has absolutely nothing to do with it. Who I am is who the people have known me to be all these years and the work that I've done. And
way to go, Roy de los Santos. Love how you clearly explain things to the people. Honest and to the point. Voy con Roy 100%. That's from Esther. Abel, forget about the shows. Trey refused to come out during the ice storm. Yeah, see, I know there's a lot of things that, and maybe that's why he doesn't want to come out, because he knows people are just going to pelt him with all this stuff. But
yeah, there should have been like 2 or 3 press conferences before that storm even hit Brownsville to say, prepare, do this, do that. This is where you can go. There should have been more.
Exactly.
We could have done better.
And it's true. And you know what? It's everybody goes to the, we would never expect a storm like this. It's like, well, that's the point of being prepared. You have to be prepared for the unexpected.
Why it's an emergency preparedness plan, because it's not the everyday expectation.
David said FDR made the people feel included with those talks. Oh, yes.
And that's what we want to do here on this show.
Same thing with Winston Churchill. He gave a couple of humongous speeches about going to war, and he got everybody behind him. Would you consider inviting Commissioner Tetro on your show? I'd love to hear her speak. I would. I'm open to everyone. If she's willing and we need have something to discuss, absolutely would have her on. Manny, just like Peppermint Patty, just like you demanded solutions from Erasmo instead of harping on the same issues, I hope you do the same with these candidates. That's been done. And also, and I'm not going to lie about this, this is a learning process for me also. I know I started doing a show, and then I started doing the interviewing candidates, and I'm trying to get better at it and not be so shy of asking those questions that need to be asked. And, this was a step up for me, having Erasmo come on, then having to explain, hey, this is not about you. This is about, stuff that's been said against Roy. And so, yes, I do plan on doing that, Peppermint Patty.
And Patty, if you feel there's anything we haven't touched on, throw it out there, please. We'll absolutely get it. And I love your screen name, by the way. I'm a big Peanuts fan. Linus and Lucy was my ringtone for a long, long time. Now
Nice.
it's just my ringtone for my most favorite contact.
Abel says these shows are the equivalent of back in the late 1800s, hanging out under an apple tree discussing the community issues. Thanks, Manny. Yeah, I get it. It's good to talk. And obviously, this is I'm going to call this an unofficial capacity because right now it's after the event and we're just hanging out talking. But I do thank you, Roy, for hanging out and being gracious enough to just take whatever they're throwing at you here. Ben, what I can't stand is when they say my door is always open. What a joke. I've heard that a lot of times too. Yeah, my door is always open. And the first thing they do is close that door.
Yeah. And you know what? That's one of the things I want to compliment our former mayor, Blanca Vela. I know she made arrangements and kept office hours, not like 8 to 5, but I mean, she kept some regular office hours so that a citizen could go and sit and talk to her in person if they had a concern that wasn't being addressed. And I think that's a great thing. I don't know how feasible that is for me because I work full time for AT&T, but stuff like this after hours, absolutely. And there will be times, luckily I've been with the company over 20 years. So I get 6.5 vacation days or 6.5 weeks of vacation a year. So I'll have some time where I could take a day off here and there, maybe once or twice a quarter, have office hours. Definitely want town halls after 5 o'clock and weekends, and definitely want to be on shows like this as often as possible.
Well, we will hold you to that if you do win, because people here don't forget, and they'll say, "Hey, he said he was going to come on your show here,"
and it's all on video. I can't lie about it. I ain't going to get away from it.
Abel, think about all the old-time leaders. Harriet Tubman didn't get elected to free a few slaves. She chose to do that, along with many other leaders.
Yep.
Very true. Took the initiative. Snoopy, I agree with Peppermint. Erasmo's voice has been called negative way too much, and that is not the case. Just because we don't agree what the city does or doesn't do doesn't make us negative. Yeah, and for me personally, it's more about, okay, this stuff is out there. Now let's prove it. Let's find it. And I'm not saying it doesn't exist. I'm just saying let's prove it so we can do something about it. That's what I'm saying.
And let's talk about what do we do about it, not just say, what happened? What happened? Why?
Right.
No, let's talk about, okay, this happened and somebody screwed the pooch on it.
Yep.
And this is what we need to do to clean it up and fix it.
And how are we going to fix it? Exactly.
Yep.
I'll say this about the mayor. He's a hell of a lot better than Martinez. Martinez didn't go through a pandemic. Let him hold accountable. Let's hold him accountable, but give him the benefit of the doubt as well. Let's help him help us.
Agreed.
Yeah, I agree with part of that. I'm not saying he's totally not at fault with any of this. And it'll help him if he's out there more and a lot more receptive and listening to the people. I know he's an attorney, and maybe that part of him gets to him. We're like, oh, I can't talk to anybody. I shouldn't talk to anybody. I know that gets to him because he's a lawyer.
That's what they say.
It's in his nature. But I think it would definitely help him if he would be out there a lot more.
Oh, yeah.
Now that the pride flag is going to be flown on city property, will the city flags? It is. Will the city fly flags of groups that disagree with this? There was another similar comment to this earlier today. If you put one flag up and then you got to put everybody else's flag up, and then you got it's a big mess on your hands.
Well, and I disagree with that to a certain extent, and let me tell you why. One, and like I've talked about 3 flags today. And that's, of course, expecting the state of Texas, city of Brownsville, United States. But I talked about the blue line. I talked about the red line. I talked about the equality flag. These are all positive things. These are all about inclusion, recognition of people who serve, and about this being a safe place, a safe community for everyone. Now, because we fly the U.S. flag with the blue line, does that mean if somebody comes tomorrow and say, well, I've started my own church and my flag says kill every XYZ and I want it flown on city property? No, that doesn't mean we have to fly that flag, because there are absolutely standards. There is no absolute out there other than that. If you do one, you absolutely have to do everyone's. No, that is not true. That is not the case. Just like Antonin Scalia, one of my favorite Supreme Court justices, just right up there with RBG. But even Scalia said when it comes to the Second Amendment, that doesn't mean you can own any weapon on the face of the earth whenever and however you want. You've got a right to bear arms, but yes, there are limits. You don't have a right. I don't have a right to have a nuclear weapon in a parking garage or in a storage unit down here. You do not have a right to any and every arm out there. That's not an absolute thing. Same thing here. If you fly one flag, that doesn't mean everybody else's flag has to be flown. There are standards. This is still Brownsville, Texas. This is still the United States, and there are things that we absolutely won't tolerate and won't fly. And one of them is we're not going to fly a communist flag in our city because there's a local communist group that wants to try and take over.
Yeah, absolutely not. Snoopy, I wish that all commissioners were doing what you are doing then, Roy. They also need to put themselves out there and accept accountability and address the public's questions, town hall style.
Amen.
Yeah,
Amen.
I look forward to that. I think that'll be so freaking informative and interesting.
Definitely.
So interesting. And it's a learning moment, too, for a lot of people. Wake up, Fluffy. Bam's having a nap. We'll be back at 10:30.
Very good.
Manny, you've been doing great. Love your show. Thank you, Miss Esther, right? Let's see. Let's go down here. We're going to be wrapping up pretty soon because contrary to what some people believe, I do respect Erasmo's time slot. I'm not looking to interfere for any ulterior motive.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, Emma. Welcome. Nice to see you. Oscar Roy, the city of Mercedes needs someone like you right now as a city official. I've heard that. I've heard that's they got a thing going on over there. I look at it this way, guys. If you can't talk to the people, what are you doing in office?
Amen.
Good point. That's very well said. It's a good talk and learn. I can't get enough info because I try to pass it on to my in-laws because a lot of them don't have internet connections to listen and to watch. That's awesome. That's nice that you do that.
And Chuck, if you want, send me an address for any of your in-laws. If that's here in Brownsville, I'll go knock on their door and sit down and chat with them. And we can do this face-to-face. If they don't have internet connection, they shouldn't be deprived of hearing from a candidate.
That's awesome. Paul, I've enjoyed tonight's podcast. Although I live in District 4, I will support you once you take your seat in the commission.
Thank you.
That's for Paul. Pepper and Patty. Mr. Roy, I wish you much success and hope you do remember us when in office.
I absolutely will, Patty. And if you go to my website, www.voteforroy, and that's the number 4, voteforroy.com, my personal cell number and my email address are on there. You'll always be able to find me, and you'll be able to find me on Manny's show. I guarantee it.
I'm going to go ahead and post that link in the chat there so everybody can see that and get to it. Cowboy flag? No. I'm sorry. No. How about no, Abel? I got my Chicago Bears flag hanging. See, now we're going to start this Bears Cowboys.
Oh, love it. Love it. I'm the Wimbledon guy.
Pepper and Patty, have a good night, Pepper.
Good night, Pepper and Patty.
You talk about a blue line, a red line flag. Would you support a BLM flag? Pfft, that's a joke. You Chuck, come on. Seriously.
That's a tough question. I'd have to think about that, Chuck. It would really depend to me on who it is that's asking for it. I think there's several groups out there where you've got some individuals who are working on a movement to do something good and do things the right way. And then you've got people who hijack it and perfect example. You've got people who want to go out there and protest against an injustice. And you've got people who want to turn that into let's riot and start fires and burn police cars and do all these other things. So you can't, there's not a one size fits all approach. You really have to look at who it's about, why they're doing it, what the flag represents.
It depends what the actual sincere intent of the group is.
Right. Now with Black Lives Matter, I will say I am a proponent, just like I agree Blue Lives Matter and all lives matter, yes. But it's like, and the example I've given before when we talk about downtown versus other parts of the city is if you've got a big family, you've got 4 kids, and let's say 3 of your kids, college educated, very successful, both all making 6 figures a year, and you've got your 4th kid who's struggling. Who are you going to give more attention to? Are you going to say, well, my 4th kid needs $50,000 to pay off his debts, so I've got to write a check to all of my kids for $50,000 a piece? No, that's not what it means. The kids that are on their own and doing well, you're going to be there for them for whatever they need. But the kid that's struggling a little bit more, you're going to help him a little bit more. When it comes to Black Lives Matter, and this is my interpretation, and anybody can debate me on this, it's not that only Black Lives Matter. That's not what they're saying. It's that they feel, and you've got to understand everybody's got their own feeling and their own perception. There's a feeling out there that Black Americans have been more unfairly judged over the years, have had a rougher route to go over the years. And that's why there's an emphasis on Black Lives Matter. And so that's why I understand and I'm okay with someone saying Black Lives Matter. Now, do I believe in kneeling during the national anthem to get that point across? No, I don't. Because I'm not going to go diss you and your views to say you need to listen to me. I'm not going to kneel during the national anthem because they're not flying a pride flag at Yankee Stadium or something like that. No, when that flag flies, I am up at attention and my hand is over my heart because I'm an American. And then I will still go out there and say, there are concerns when it comes to Black lives. There are concerns when it comes to blue lives. One, first and foremost, that we don't take care of them enough. And then we still have people out there targeting them. When we had that sniper in Dallas, specifically trying to pick off law enforcement.
Yeah.
Blue lives matter as well. So that's what Black Lives Matter is about to me. But I have no doubt there are people out there trying to capitalize on it in different ways and turn it into something bad for their own nefarious purposes.
Yeah, and it goes bad when the founder of Black Lives Matter all of a sudden is reported to have 3 mansions around the country.
Yeah.
That is not a good look for BLM.
No, it's like evangelists when they're in their private jets.
That's true. I've seen the evangelist saying, I need X amount of money. I need a new jet. He said, I need a new jet.
Have you seen The Righteous Gemstones on HBO?
No.
You need to check that out. Amazing show. I can't wait for the next season. But John Goodman is the head of this family and is a big evangelist.
Oh,
great
I love
show.
John Goodman.
The Righteous Gemstones.
Have a good night. Off to the Erasmo Show. All right, Snoopy.
Bye, Snoopy.
Have a great night. We're going to wrap up here in a minute, too. We must learn from the past and prepare for the future. Be vocal as citizens and make your voice and vote count. It's not negative to speak your opinion if you fight to change the world.
Amen.
I agree. Ben says, I like Roy. He talks the talk, not like the others who talk crap.
And I always will. I will always talk the talk.
Let's see. Lupito, a couple more things here. It's that Erasmo engages us with us live and consistently. Why have Democrats been so slow at Facebook Live interaction?
That's a good question.
Yeah. I know why. And the reason is because they don't want to interact. They don't want to answer questions. They don't want to answer the hard, real questions. They don't want to be put on the spot. Great show, guys. Thank you, Marisa.
Thank you, Marisa.
And there I put the links there for voteforroy.com. Another thing I wanted to clear up, some people said I've jumped ship. I've jumped ship. I don't know what that means, whose ship I've jumped from. I sail my own ship, so I'm not jumping from my own ship. I can't vote. I like Roy. I like Jessica. They're both extremely capable. And it's difficult for you guys who are in the third. It's difficult. I don't envy you guys. Both capable people. And I think it's your job to listen and to ask the questions and be open to, what their answers are, but actually, give a damn and listen.
Yes.
Which group is right and which group is wrong? Both are wrong a lot of times.
Yes.
Nobody's right all the time.
Yep.
Louis said, thanks you guys. All right, Roy, we're going to wrap it up right now. Thanks for doing this event with Erasmo.
Always.
And hang on, can I 10:30? Yeah, 10:30. I'm gonna be back in 10:30 with Bam. So yes. Good luck to you, and I'm sure we'll talk again sometime before the elections or election day comes up.
Let me know if Jessica's willing to go head to head on your show, like we talked about.
We're scheduling
like a debate.
I'm scheduling something for her only next week, I believe on the 27th. Or right now it's tentative. And then after that, we'll get together and we'll set a date for you guys.
Yeah, let's see if we can't do something before early voting starts on June 7th.
Yes, absolutely. Manny, can I come on at 10:30? Okay, Abel, you got a lot to say today, Abel. I'm going to let you come on tonight. Manny, you on Mike on YouTube. Yes, give us a subscribe over there. As long as you don't jump the shark, we are okay. David, I'm not jumping sharks. I promise. Great show. Glad to see you all agree to disagree, but work together.
Yes.
I'm telling you, you guys can accomplish so much, regardless of who wins. And if everybody still stays involved and says, let's do something.
Well, we've got to, and that's one of the things, and I won't name names, but during the primaries or during the general election, there was a candidate who I ran into in front of the public library. And I'm like, you know what? It seems like turnout's low. I said, why don't we jump on a Facebook Live and just say, get out the vote? Not even vote for me, vote for you. Just, hey, you know what? This is your right as an American. Get outside, do your civic duty, come out and vote. They're like, no, that's all right. I'm like, why not? And they said, if you were running for a different race, I'd consider it. I'm like,
wow.
it's not. It shouldn't be about that. We're supposed to be in this for Brownsville. It's supposed to be about Brownsville.
Yeah.
All of us. And I would love it. And I'm going to reach out to Ben and to Pedro and Jessica and ask if they're interested in doing something like that, because turnout was low in the general. I'd love to see all 4 of the candidates come together, whether it's 2 at a time, all 4 at the same time, whatever. Just get out and vote, Brownsville.
Yep. That would be awesome. More of that has to happen.
Yes, it
and
does.
admittedly, I do need to get more involved in that and pushing for people to register to vote.
Yes.
And then get out to vote.
I got deputized, and several of my friends have gotten deputized. We've been registering folks at the farmers market the last 2 weekends. Today was the deadline, though at 5 o'clock today was the deadline to vote in the runoff. So, but we're going to be doing this later on in the year as well, because we've got primaries that'll be coming up sometime between March and June, depending on how redistricting delays those.
Yeah.
So we're going to keep registering people to vote, because that's important.
We, the people, have unlearned the government structure. We need a refresher. Yeah, I agree with that.
Our politicians need a lesson more than the American people, I think. But all of us need a new lesson.
Roy, thank you again for being on. Erasmo, if you're out there, if anybody pass it along, again, we thank him for coming on. And it happened exactly what I wanted to happen. I didn't want fireworks or,
Right.
you guys going at each other like
Celebrity
that.
grudge match?
Celebrity grudge match. Yeah, it didn't have to be a grudge match.
No, not at all.
It was good. You guys spoke your piece, both of you, and things got ironed out, I believe.
I think so.
And if we need to do this again at some point, hey, maybe now you're open to go on and talk with him on his show.
I'm going to watch his show for the next few nights and see how he's doing. Like I said, as long as he stays away from the personal attacks, and I don't mean personal attacks on me.
Yeah.
It's like, if you're going to go after people, keep it factual, talk about the issues.
Yeah.
Don't talk about the way they're dressed or their weight or anything else like that.
Yeah, and make sure everyone knows. I didn't tell Roy not to go on an Erasmo show ever. I just said, hey, you know what? Go out now. Hopefully some of the air was cleared, and now you can go on his show, and he can ask you, and talk about whatever you guys want to talk about over there. Hopefully we made that happen tonight. Good luck, Roy. Thank you so much. Have a great night, Roy.
Talk soon.
Everyone have a great night.
Good night, fans.
Thanks for tuning in.
Thank you all.